Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the legendary journey, nay, the mythical adventure of the Langobards, long-bearded dwarven people. In the last one, we uprooted ourselves from northern Germany here, and we have started the long trek eastwards towards those fabled flatlands where we can let our horses grow in peace. We've left the League. We're no longer part of the Defensive League. We're just too powerful to be a member of... We're too powerful. Okay. Because we are now no longer a settled horde, we are a migrant horde. Because we have abandoned our lost city, we can have alliances, but we can no longer have diplomatic pacts, defensive pacts. We get 1,000 additional manpower. Our army weight modifier, which is the amount of supply we use, is down by 25%, so we suffer less attrition. Very important when you're trekking along territories which are not actually occupied by anyone, because their supply level tends to be very low. And we can have an additional clan chief, though I think that is still going to be just 3. Right, our people have started to move. I'm going to give you just a little bit longer before we set you off as well, because I want to make sure... Oh! Alright, you're a migrant. You can go anywhere. Yeah, see, these two are overlapping. I don't want that. So, you're already on the move. You stay here. I'm just going to make sure that we have a little more of a gap between these guys. Okay, let's start moving. So we're going to set out eastwards. Take a quick look at the minimap so I know where I'm going, because I've already picked a location. But you guys don't know where it is yet, and I'm going to leave you in suspense for as long as I possibly can. Moving eastwards, moving eastwards. As we go, we do continue to generate monarch points. We are losing money at the moment, so we cannot continue this trek forever. We're actually paying for the migrant peoples basically as if they were soldiers. And you can indeed use them as soldiers. So you could build up a humongous population of migratory hordes, uproot them, and then invade Rome and just resettle Rome. Which actually sounds like a really cool idea. I might have to try that at some point. The monarch points that you're generating, by the way, are dependent on your ruler. They are half of the ruler's actual level. So if we click on him, I was like, why can't I see his stats? I hadn't actually clicked on him. We can see what his abilities are. So he's level 3, martial level 8, civic level 4, oratory, and level 9 religious. So he generates half of this. I don't know if he's rounding up or rounding down. Rounding down as points. So we'll be getting 1 point of military, because he sucks at military. We're getting 4 points of civic, however, which is really good. I know from my practice runs with the Langobards that we tech up very quickly. We get lots of inventions, which is why I'm really not too concerned about spending lots of civic points early on. We have 2 points of oratory, which is not great. Oratory is going to be a little bit of a roadblock for us. And then we generate 4 points of religious, because we are super religious, and we can keep those omens just running constantly, which is really quite nice. They are also increased by having your government sorted out properly. So if we see the national overview here, we have ideas. These are a rather more customizable system of national ideas that we had in Europa Universalis. I really like this system. You will notice that we have 2 military icons above them. That's basically saying if you have 2 military ideas, then you will get your government bonus. So because we are a migratory horde, our requirement is 2 military. If you are a republic, it's like 2 civic, 1 religious, and 1 oratory. If you're an aristocracy, it's like 3 military and 1 religious. It depends on your government form. And if you succeed in doing that, then you get the bonus outlined here. So if you have 2 military ideas, we will get national tribesman output plus 15%, they become more productive, and an additional point in every type of monarch point. So it's really quite important to adhere to that. However, selecting these ideas will cost us 50 oratory, so we could actually afford to do one right now, and we may well want to. So bearing in mind that we get bonuses for having 2 military ideas, our options are basically morale of armies plus 10%. We can have trireme cost minus 25%. That's not going to be particularly relevant for where we're going. And then a reinforcement speed of plus 10% and an army morale recovery of plus 5%. Okay. Other options would be civic, so build cost minus 30%, build time minus 30%. So my love affair of the republics and the more economic nations is already starting. Like, that sounds to me like an amazing bonus. Complex tariffs, national commerce income plus 20%. That's pretty huge. National slave output plus 20%. also kind of huge. Sanctioned privileges, monthly corruption minus 0.1. Monthly general loyalty plus 0.05. And then 33% improve opinion. So you remember last session I was talking about the fact that you could have various technologies, or indeed ideas, which improves the amount of opinion you get when you spend that oratory power to improve relations. Well, that's how you do it. That's one of the ways. And then religious ideas. Country civilization level increased by 10%. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And also the civilization change over time goes up. Loyalty as subject states plus 10. So if you have a lot of tributaries, then you'll want to get the haruspicy. And then the origin myth, which gives your ruler more popularity. That's important for overcoming civil wars. Basically means that more people stay loyal to you if there is an uprising or something like that. Again, I'm not 100% familiar with how the characters work. I've spent a lot more time looking at things like the migratory mechanics than I have the characters. New game. We're going to be learning this stuff together. So as I said, I'll be taking it slowly because I got to absorb what's going on here at the same time that you guys do. I don't think I want to do that just yet because I want to wait until we see where we end up before we do that. I know it's possible to change government as the game goes on. I think that's done by a decision. Yeah, we need to try and form a tribal kingdom. So we lose civic power, we lose stability, we become a settled tribe. I think there are more requirements for that. I think that tooltip's not very good. I seem to remember talking to a few other people where they mentioned that, so we'll have to explore that a little bit later. It's not a problem. The other thing which is crying about up here at the moment is because we have a lack of commanders. If we click on this, we can see all of the different available characters who could be a military leader. Unfortunately, all of our generals suck. Level 3 military is dreadful. Usually, like as Rome, you can very frequently find like 8s or 9s kind of as your average, and generals work just the way in this as they do in EU4 and TK2 and everything like that. The better the martial ability of your commander, it basically just adds to your die roll in combat. So the better your commander, so say you have a level 3 military, they have a level 1 military, you'll get a +2 to all of your die rolls. I don't think that's halved. I think that is literally that. And the levels of commander are much higher now, so I've seen a level 11. I think that's the highest I've seen. It might go higher. So those die roll implications are far more important. But you also got to take into account their other stats. Loyalty, of course, being the most important. So if you want someone who is super, super loyal, and is in fact our faction leader, then we would have Sigismund Geraldus. He is also disciplined. So different traits will have different bearings. So he gives himself +1 martial, which I think is already accounted for here. It is indeed. So his base is terrible. And he gives +5 discipline, which is amazing. +5 discipline is a big, big deal because it increases the damage done by 5%, but also decreases the damage received by 5%. It kind of functions like the tactics in EU4, which is directly related to discipline. So not much difference there. I don't want to assign a general just yet, because this is a temporary army, and the leaders of the retinues are always the person who bought that retinue. So we're going to continue heading eastwards, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so it is now winter. It is the middle of January, and you can see that everything is getting super snowy. We've actually got kind of lucky that we've not been hit. Oh no, yes we have, by winter attrition. So you can see here, normal winter, +1. So we are taking attrition just for being in Calagia. That is unavoidable damage. That attrition is always going to occur, so you've got to keep an eye on your manpower to basically make sure that you can overcome your winter attrition losses. That's especially important in the frigid north. So we're currently losing 63 to attrition out of the 125 we generate. This has also been kind of explained to me as a soft force limit cap. There are no official force limits in this. It's entirely dependent on what you think you can afford and how much manpower you got. So currently we're losing about half the manpower we're generating because of that winter attrition. And that can get better or worse depending on where you are, which is also why it's so important to keep these guys spread out. And I'm doing an awful job of that at the moment. Let's make sure you can get to there. Let's move you down to here and have you move over here. And we'll just kind of move you one at a time. Anyway, the Dwarven peoples have left their Germanic homelands. They've said farewell to their dismal forests and have set out on their great journey eastwards. The battle-hardened soldiers serving under Agnatic Dagaras, that guy, have performed mighty acts of valour. Agnaric, in an act of benevolence, has requested permission to institute a particular form of service reward unique to his army. Agonaric would take greater defense at being denied this honor, but we wish to be careful of allowing him too much autonomy. So he could become more ambitious. His retinue becomes inspired, which increases their discipline by +2, but also increases their loyalty gain chance by +5. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, this is a dangerous precedent. So Agonaric, who is also our wise one, so he is a member of our council, our government, would lose 20 loyalty, so he would go from 73 down to 53, and it's great that it shows that right there. I think I'm going to say, let the soldiers have their due. So the retinue soldiers are generally loyal anyway. That's what this button here means. If they're loyal to their general, I don't know exactly how this works because I haven't had this problem very much yet. I think, and it doesn't explain it, that he has to pay a portion of their wages. Now, he does anyway because they're his retinue. We don't pay them, he does. But if a soldier becomes loyal to that commander, then I think they have to pay it. The other thing to note is if they're loyal, you can never remove them. So he is always going to have these 5. You can't split them, you can't assign a new commander. They will only remain under that general. So if you have a general who's winning battles left, right and centre and becomes super popular and decides he wants to take a part of your land for himself and starts off a civil war, you can't just replace him. Like, his soldiers will stick with him. The more popular a general is, I believe, the more the loyalty will go up. And you can see that here with the chance of cohort loyalty. So has a base of 0.5. He's a head of army, so that's another 0.5. He has high charisma, that's another 0.3. And is reduced by already having a bunch of loyal cohorts. So that's a thing to bear in mind. Alright, I'm doing an absolutely awful job in separating these guys. You moving there, you moving there. Let's move you down. Let's move you up to the north. I kind of want the migrants to get there first if we can manage that. I'm going to turn down the sound effect sounds. I can tell that those are super, super loud. Let's do UI down to 0.6, 0.6. And the ambient sounds can go 0.5. Hopefully that's a little bit better. You'll have to tell me how the sound balance is. So usually I do all this sound balance stuff on stream because then I can get immediate feedback. A little more difficult here when it's just me and I kind of just make a practice recording and see how it sounds. Yeah, I think that's better. So you keep on moving this way, you move south, you keep heading over there, and you head north. Okay, good. You're a migrant. You two aren't, then you're the migrant. Never mind. So you continue going this way. You continue going this way. You head into there, you head into here. And we'll continue our grand adventure to the east, passing through even more plains. We have these giant mountains spreading either side of us. It's the first time our people have properly seen mountains so close. And you know what? We kind of like them. They feel comforting. They feel empowering. They are a real difference to our usually quite small stature. And they just feel really, really cool. We like this. They feel special. They feel like we belong to this. So we're going to continue heading east, hugging these mountains. Initially we could see some of these flat lands spreading out before we hit this mountain pass, and that looked kind of cool too. Yeah, sure, but no, we're going to continue hugging these mountains, and we're going to call them the Carpathians, just because that's what they're actually called. It would be really confusing if I called them something else. So we're going to keep pushing east, passing through a province which is rather interestingly called Gothinia. I'm sure that'll have absolutely no bearing on future events whatsoever. Definitely nothing special to do with that province at all, actually. Is it? I know that there are barbarian provinces. I want to see if that's one of them. It's not. So throughout the world there are these barbarian provinces where basically barbarians have a chance of spawning. I haven't seen any barbarians yet. I haven't got to the stage where they started spawning, so I'm kind of curious. Apparently they can be bad things, but they can also be good. I'm hoping because we are tribesmen that it's going to be a good thing for us, but I don't actually know. Alright, so we've seen these flat lands spreading to the north, and you know what, we're still carrying around the horses. Well, we're not actually, we don't have access to horses anymore, but we'd still kind of like the idea of having great horsemen, so we're going to cling to the mountains. We also like the mountains, but we're going to go north, because we've seen down here to the south is yucky forests. Ugh, who wants those? So we're going to go north. We're going to look through here and see what we come up against. And we're going to keep on moving over this way, damn it. Although it is now... Oh no, it's September already. Wow, we've been travelling for like a year. This has taken a while. And then after this I'll zoom out and show you where we actually are and what's going on here. Although I think you may already have seen that. Alright, some nice rivers here. Some pretty good flat land, you know. Be decent for farming. Allow us to generate a bit of a food source. And if we go to the trade goods map mode... later on, which we will do, we'll see what exactly is available in our area. And we're going to stop with this migratory horde right here. We're going to move you to Laconia. I'm going to move you to Eberron. I'm going to have you marching over here because I want my two migrants together. And we are... definitely running short of money, so it's kind of a good thing that this wasn't too long a journey. And don't worry, like I have a very special place in mind here for where we want the dwarven peoples to settle. This one of the grain, that one's woad. There's grain around here somewhere. Woad is good though. Woad makes the tribesmen happy. I like woad. We're just going to move to Valitum so that the larger unit of migrants can pass through. That's why I'm kind of leaving a little bit of space, because I have a particular province in mind for where we are aiming to get to. Once again, it's January, winter is starting to settle in, we're getting a little bit more attrition, 0.7 due to the normal winter, a couple of people there dying. Not having a huge impact though, we're fine. Okay, as we pass into the province of Matiskua, we have noticed to our south an interesting geological feature. It's a pass between two very large mountain ranges. And some of our scouts in that region have announced that they have found a rather interesting metal. It is golden in nature. And it looks luscious. We want more of this. We really want more of this. And so we've decided to dedicate our lives to finding more of this metal. We shall call it gold. So we're going to select our migrants here, and seeing the different armies, I haven't actually talked about this at all. There are a bunch of different buttons. One of the cool things about Imperator is your armies can undertake special actions. There are also different stances. So for example, in EU4 there was like forced march. You can force march from the very start of the game. It will increase the amount of supply you require, it will increase your speed, and it also means you don't recover morale. It doesn't cost military points to do, it's just a thing that you can switch on or off on the fly, but it will affect your morale recovery. The other thing which is really interesting is the unit reorganization. This one does cost military points. It will cost you 5 points to enact. It will slow you down, you can still move, but you are slowed. It will increase your reinforcement speed by 25%. So if you've just fought a big battle and you want a chance to recover your manpower and your morale, then going into reorganization mode would be the way to do it, though it will double your cost while it is active. You can only do it in one of your own provinces as well. Not controlled, owned. So if you're deep into enemy territory, you won't be able to reorganize, but they will. So that's kind of one of the defender advantages. And then there are other things which appear down here too. So for example, Roman legions can eventually build roads. That would be one of these options. But we are interested in this little guy, Settle. So our Tustic Swabian tribesman appears in Ibadura, and the migrant units are destroyed. Boop. So we have now established our capital here in the mountain pass of Ciscarpathia in Venadia. And we can see that our population have spawned... actually, no, they didn't spawn that. All migrants are always tribesmen. I should have looked at this earlier. I'm sorry. I'll explain it in a minute. But basically, you absorb any people that are already in the province. So if we click on these provinces, we can see that there are a bunch of people already present. And we were kind of lucky. We actually got one of the provinces, which are relatively rare, that had a citizen. There was another one up here somewhere. Ah, Gothinia has a citizen. The culture does not automatically switch. So he is a Tustic Irminionic. We are Tustic religion, so we're not going to need to convert that at all. But he was of a different culture, and we also have Imerionics instead of Swabian people here. One way that you can grow your population is just to have a migratory horde moving, settling, moving, settling, moving, settling. And that was actually what I did in my game with Frisia. I basically cleared the whole of the Netherlands out of population, just put them all in Holland. So I had like a population of something like 40 in one city. That is entirely feasible. It costs a heck of a lot of civic power to do, or oratory power, but you can absolutely grow your population in that way. Alright, so let's start moving our armies to where we're going to be settling. We are also going to be taking Matuskia, because it's in the same province. So I want to get as many of this province settled as soon as possible. So let's see what's in this area. First of all, precious metals. There's not a whole lot of them in the world, and we have one of the main sources of this area. There is another one a little bit to our southeast, but I just thought, you know, flavor-wise, it was kind of cooler owning the mountain pass here. We can also eventually settle that. Directly to our south is a source of iron, which is awesome. We are basically the greatest metal workers in the world. Quelle surprise. Iron allows you to get heavy infantry units, which are really strong. So heavy infantry dwarven units, that sounds cool to me. To our north we have wood, hemp, woad, gemstones, vegetables, more woad, base metals, and hemp. And just like I was explaining earlier, each of the different resources has different abilities. So base metals allows you to get cohort recruitment speed and also increases your light infantry offense. This is our capital, so we will get that bonus. For having hemp, we get local slave output. We get trireme offense for having veggies. We have supply limit. These are I was going to say mushrooms, quoting Dwarf Fortress, but it could also technically be hops. So we can have Bugman's Brewery up in Villita. Can we rename cities? No. No, that's too bad. We have woad, which increases the tribesman happiness, as we've been saying. We have wood, which will allow us to build triremes. Clearly super useful for us. We'll also increase trireme discipline. Wow, plus 10. That's a lot of discipline. More hemp, more woad, and then gemstones, which increases local taxes by 20%. It also increases your country's civilization level by 5%, which is kind of cool. Civilization is a thing we have not really talked about yet, because I don't really get it. Did we have a national civilization? I think we do. Yeah, so we can have a maximum of 10% civilization. So because we're currently on 5%, that will tick up over time until it hits 10%. And it ticks up at 0.03 month. Oh no, 0.04, it even says that right there. The higher your civilization, the more your population growth, the more the supply limit, the less barbarian growth, the more citizen happiness, freeman happiness, but the less your tribesman happiness. So the more civilized you are, the more citizens and freemen like you. The less civilized you are, the more your tribesmen like you. So that's why civilization is important to us. As you change government form, you get different levels of civilization, plus you can unlock inventions and technologies and all that stuff, which does even more. But we are going to be having a lot of tribesmen, so having low civilization right now is good, even though it will mean slower population growth. But to counterbalance that, because we're a migratory horde, we can actually grab a lot of population just by doing the migratory migrate, settle thing. You can also form colonies, which is the other way of expanding. So if we click on Agrum right now without actually having an army selected, we can see that there is a colonize button down here. We click on it, we can then choose to move people to Agrum, which will absorb it. And if you do that, then you also absorb the people who are present. What does that cost? Dominant culture is not Swabian. You can only colonize places which are already of your culture. That makes no sense. Do we have a way of converting this before we get here? I don't think so. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to do colonizing. So to colonize, you need to have an adjacent city with at least 10 population, which is why one of the reasons I was trying to merge my people together as much as possible. I guess we'll just need to do the settle system. Colonizing is just a lot cheaper. You're saying my dominant culture? Oh, you're saying my dominant culture is not. I get what the problem is. Why is my dominant culture not Swabian? Should be. By far the most people here are Swabian. Well, what we can do is we can spend points to assimilate these guys, and I think I will. Just to make sure they are. Now we can do it. Here we go. So it will cost us 20 civic points. Sorry, it was oratory to convert. To move a population member here. I don't think it really matters what we send. We just probably a tribesman. So let's do that. And that's going to steal Agram. There we go. Why'd that become my capital? I don't want it to be my capital. Whatever. We have also absorbed those people. Cool. Migrants. That's you guys. I want you in Matuskia. And you can't go anywhere else. We could also spread to the south. Except I can't. Why not? Right, because we're already colonized and you can only colonize once a year. Cool. So we have now expanded to 2 provinces. Yay! My tribal chief, Sigismund Geroldus, we have increased in rank. We are now a local power country instead of a migrant horde. We can now join defensive leagues again. We can have alliances. We've gained diplomatic relations, diplomatic range, and clan chiefs. So if we have a look around, we can see where we are actually established. We're in the middle of nowhere. This was kind of intentional, because I wanted some space to expand and to try out the mechanics for colonization and migration, which is still possible, by the way, even though we're now not a horde. We're not a nomadic horde, we're a settled migrant. I don't know what to call it. We're still a migrant horde, technically, because our government. So we can just pick up and leave whenever we want to. So we will lose access to the whole province if and when we do so. I think we're just going to have to use the colonization mechanics. Oh, you're the capital again. Why does my capital keep moving? Alright, let's save it just to hopefully keep the capital there. That was a bit weird. Right, and then the next thing I think I probably want to start doing is spending some of my civic power on actually getting some inventions. Also trade. So we could try to import something. There is a source of leather available, so if we click on the leather, we can see who has a surplus point. Thracia has a surplus, so we can choose to buy that. That will increase our cohort recruit speed, but will also earn us money, which is cool. I like money. And because it's in my capital region, we also gained the capital surplus bonus, which was... Oh. No, capital surplus actually means we need to have +1 in the capital. Never mind. We don't have a capital surplus bonus. Which I think was light infantry combat ability. Alright, you have arrived. You can go ahead and settle. I think these two might need to leave and then we can do that. Because we should absolutely be able to do this right now. No. Maybe because we've taken attrition? Ah, we can have an omen. So we can choose population growth, unrest reduction, commerce income, aggressive expansion, etc. Oh, we're also... Oh, jeez, we were almost out of money. I'm going to choose the population growth, because we really do need to try to expand our population base. Although we will be able to do the pick up, drop thing. In fact, we could even... I don't get why you can't settle. I'm just going to see if we can settle here, if it has to be on somewhere already established. I think it does, though. I'm a little bit confused. That's because this isn't a migratory horde. That's a retinue. That's the horde. Never mind. Okay, let's move these guys back. Then move you over to Matsukua. And then we'll settle there. Okay, that was just me being stupid. It happens. The other thing we could do is move population from our capital to Agrum so that we can have more than 10 population here. So we need to bring in 6 people, then we could start another colony going. The other thing that we do want to get is a source of grain as quickly as possible. There is quite a lot of grain up here. There's also some more grain down here in the south, and I think we may actually try to grab that first. Just because it's going to be in the same province as the iron, and I do want to secure the iron. We're going to want grain, we're going to want livestock, which we can get from here, and then fish. Unfortunately, fish... Oh, no, we actually have fish over here. Interesting. I was not expecting there to be a source of fish inland, but of course, rivers are a thing. Duh. What's wild game do? Ooh, local tribesman output. Interesting. Starting experience plus 10% for furs. So, starting experience of units is a cool mechanic which I only very recently learned about. Basically, the higher the experience of your unit, the more damage itself... the higher the experience of your unit, the less manpower damage it suffers in battle. So, you take less casualties if you're more experienced, which is kind of cool. Because you've kind of learned to avoid that damage. Right, are you able to settle? You're able to settle. There we go. So this is now a province with 9 people, so if we moved one person from here... Move one tribesman to Matskua, 10 people, it can now colonize. What do we want? We can get the base metals, we can get the hemp, or the veggies. Well, considering... Or, no, we can get the grain. Let's get the grain. We want the grain. So we're going to move you over there. And that is going to settle that. And now we also have an available slot for a governor. But we'll talk about that more next time. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you're enjoying this so far. If you are, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you get notifications when more videos go up in the future. If you've really enjoyed this, then do consider checking out the Patreon, which you can find linked in the description below. If you want to see more of this stuff happening live, I will be recording it tomorrow. That is the 19th of April. On Twitch, and you can find that at twitch.tv/Mordred Viking if you want to have a more hands-on, live interaction with what's going on here. If you want to ask more questions, if you want me to delve deeper into various features, if you want me to explain something a little bit better, then that is absolutely the best way to do it. Or you can, of course, leave a comment in the comment section below. I do have a Discord if you want to come hang out with myself and the rest of the community. You can find that also linked below, because I don't have a fancy link thing yet. I think that's everything from me, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.